For 30 years, the global economy was built on one reliable rule: manufacture products wherever it's cheapest. Today, that rule has broken down. We spent decades in the asset-light era. Tech companies prioritized writing code and managing capital while intentionally avoiding the ownership of factories. They outsourced the physical world to keep their balance sheets lean. Artificial intelligence is ending that detachment. AI requires the most complex physical hardware ever manufactured, objects that cannot be simulated or replaced by code. Relying on a fragmented, globalized supply chain for these chips was once a brilliant way to save money. Now that same fragmentation has become a critical national security threat. This has triggered a surge in techno-nationalism. World powers are no longer prioritizing land or oil. They are fighting a shadow war to secure the supply lines of silicon. This struggle is rerouting hundreds of billions of dollars in global wealth and triggering a massive expansion of physical industrial infrastructure. Washington is now leading the retreat from the "build it cheap" philosophy. Economic policy has shifted toward the aggressive protection of hardware and intellectual property. The U.S. is committing $100 billion to onshore semiconductor manufacturing. This isn't theoretical. It's visible in the massive megafabs currently being excavated in the Arizona desert. This is the fortress strategy. Through export bans, the U.S. is cutting off China's access to advanced AI chips. Beijing responded by pouring trillions of yuan into absolute self-reliance. If they can't buy Western tech, they will build their own. While they are currently blocked from the most advanced chips, China is rapidly moving to monopolize legacy chips. These are the essential, older components that run everything from electric vehicles to military hardware. China is also weaponizing its control over raw materials. They have begun restricting the export of rare earth minerals, the physical building blocks the West needs to manufacture its own high-tech hardware. Instead of simply trying to out-innovate each other, the US and China are now using legal and economic weight to starve each other's physical supply lines. Europe faces a different challenge. They cannot mathematically outspend the US or China in a hardware manufacturing race. Instead, they are using digital sovereignty as a shield. Through the AI Act, Europe is rewriting the law to force global tech giants to move their operations into European jurisdiction. These laws require American and global tech companies to build massive physical sovereign AI clouds entirely within European borders. If a company wants to access European data, they can no longer simply beam it back to servers in California. They must invest in hardware that sits on European soil. This strategy uses regulation to pull billions of dollars of physical infrastructure directly into European territory. This fracturing of the global ecosystem means multinational companies can no longer rely on a single manufacturing hub. This is the rise of friendshoring. Tech supply chains are being rerouted to politically safe allied nations to minimize the risk of a sudden cutoff. India, Vietnam, and Malaysia are absorbing billions in foreign investment to build out these new global supply chains, making them the primary beneficiaries of the tech war. Geopolitical tension has created a massive market for nations willing to act as the world's new neutral assembly floors. The era of asset-light tech is over. Pure software companies must now adapt to a reality where physical hardware is the primary constraint on growth. Survival in the AI race requires staggering physical investments, massive data centers, specialized cooling systems, and dedicated power grids. Capital is no longer flowing to the cheapest manufacturer in the world. It is flowing to the most secure one. What do you think? Can the US maintain its hardware lead? Or will the weight of a fragmented supply chain slow the pace of innovation? Let me know in the comments below. We are moving toward a world with two separate tech ecosystems. The companies and investors who recognize this physical shift will define the next decade of wealth. Hit that subscribe button to stay ahead of the trends, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.